with a single end date of all your Meraki devices in one organization. Co-termination is the most popular license model in the Meraki dashboard. And today we're going to learn more about that. The co-termination license model is exactly what it means, co-termination. Essentially, every single device that you license in the Meraki dashboard, regardless of start date, has one end date that's averaged out between all devices. The advantage of this is many. For one, many organizations make hundreds of purchases throughout the lifetime of their network infrastructure, which essentially means is that instead of having 100 different start and end dates and contracts to worry about, you only have one end date for all your devices. There are a few factors in terms of calculating the co-terminant end date on a dashboard. For one, there's going to be the remaining days of the licenses on your dashboard. The second is going to be the remaining days of the licenses you add to the dashboard. And the third is going to be the weight of those licenses. By weight, I mean an SM license is for one device on a dashboard, as opposed to an MX450 license is for our largest top-of-the-line firewall. Those are going to have different weights in terms of how they're applied to the dashboard and how long they extend the dashboard outwards for. If you also want a precise calculation of where your dashboard will be, if you add another device to your dashboard, there's a license calculator that'll pop up on the screen and link down below that you could enter your information to and find out exactly what your end date would be if you add a license to your dashboard. Also, if you're interested in knowing the science behind co-termination, I'll also link that document below where you could look at the algorithm there and see precisely the ins and outs of Meraki co-termination. So now that we've gone over the basics of Meraki co-termination, let's get more into the dashboard and the components of what you'll find on a dashboard for co-termination. Here we have the Meraki Monday YouTube channel that I created in my first video on this channel. This is going to be under organization and license info. And whether you're on co-termination or per device licensing or have an enterprise agreement, this page over here under organization and license info is where you will find all of the information for your licenses. So starting at the top of the page, we have some very important information here. The license status is going to show us the status of our dashboard in terms of licensing. There's OK, which means we're in compliance. There is warning, which means that our licenses are about to expire and we'll give a 90-day warning and continuous emails as far as when our licenses are about to expire. And then there's license required, which will show in red. And license required essentially means that we have to, we're out of compliance and we need to take action in terms of getting back into compliance. We'll go over that too a little bit more later in the section. Of course, the second thing that we have here is license model. We could be in co-termination or per device licensing for a license model. The license expiration is that single co-termination end date that we have on our dashboard. Mine is in 316 days from now on February 8th, 2024. We have the MX product edition. This could be advanced security, enterprise, SD-WAN, or MR product edition as well, which now is enterprise. These two are important because these are organizational decisions. So an enterprise license for both MX and MR has to be applied organization-wide. Same thing with the advanced security for MX as well as the advantage for MR. They need to be applied as an organizational-wide decision. You can't mix and match those. Second on our screen, we have license limit and current device count. Our license limit essentially is the amount of devices we're allowed to have on the Meraki dashboard. We have one MS-120 that could be online. We have 5 MT licenses, and 5 were given free complimentary of Meraki for us here, as well as an MV, Meraki Insight license, etc. The idea here is that the left-hand side of the screen, the license limit, gives us the ability to add more devices to our dashboard while being in compliance. The right side is our current device count. This is the amount of devices we currently have, not just claimed in our organization, but also used in individual networks. So for instance, I can add 5 SM devices on here before I become out of compliance. Likewise, I have 1 MG that I have on the network, and if I were to add another one, I would go out of compliance. The last thing we have on the dashboard is our license history down below. Here we could see what license key we used to license devices on our dashboard, when the start date was, when we claimed it at, The type was add devices. We also have license renewals as well. We'll go into that in a bit too. And the devices that we've also added from a licensing perspective here. So this is pretty simple on the dashboard, and this is a great way to see the history of the licenses in our Meraki dashboard. License terms, adding more devices and renewing our dashboard. In Meraki, in co-termination, we could issue 1, 3, 5, 7, or 10-year licenses on our dashboard. When we're adding licenses to our dashboard, we could add them in either an add devices or renewing a dashboard. And we'll get into what that means. So what you see on my dashboard is my license status went from OK to license required. Essentially what I did is I added another access point without increasing my license limit with another enterprise license for access points. So when our dashboard falls out of compliance and we need to resolve a licensing issue, we have 30 days to do this. And this is called a grace period in Meraki. A grace period, it can be entered when we add more devices than our current license limit allows, or our co-termination date ends and we have 30 days after that to resolve this. So essentially what it comes down to on our side is we could either remove devices from our network, we can add licenses, and we could also renew our dashboard as well. So let's get into how we do that on the Meraki side. What you'll see is there's an add another license page down here. And by the way, Meraki does give you a good example of how to fix this and what SKU that we need in order to fix this, resolve this issue. But we're going to add another license. And you'll see we have two options here as I spoke about earlier. We could license more devices and we could renew a dashboard license. So let's start by license more devices. So I'm going to press that button. And I'm going to copy and paste my license key into the Meraki dashboard. So what you'll see on the second page here is that the Meraki dashboard will give us the before and after preview of what our licenses will look like. On the left-hand side, you see that we were out of compliance from an MR enterprise perspective. On the right-hand side, we now have the license pool required to support 2 access points on our dashboard. Additionally, the license key they entered is a 10-year term. And what this means is that we're going to move our expiration date from February 8th, 2024 to September 11th, 2024 after adding a 1 10-year license. This is because co-termination took the weight of the 10 years of licenses and averaged that out with the 1-year licenses, the remaining days we had on that, on the Meraki dashboard. So after I type in the date, 9/11/2024, press add license. When we go back to our page, you will see that our license status is okay. Now, what happens if we issue a renewal on the dashboard? Well, what we could do is we could add another license and we could renew our dashboard. I'm going to copy and paste this renewal right here into our license key area and add license. Now, what this is a 3-year renewal. And you'll see on the left-hand side, we have an end date of September 11th, 2024. And after, we have an end date of September 11th, 2027. So what you'll see is that our end date has shifted from September 11th, 2024 to September 11th, 2027. So essentially extending our dashboard out 3 years with the renewal. Now the benefit of issuing a renewal in this case is that we take all of the licenses that we have on our dashboard and we're able to extend the same licenses but not touch the license limit outwards on our dashboard. So we go from September 11th, 2024 to September 11th, 2027. So now when issuing a renewal on our dashboard, we have a much longer end date than what we originally started with. Then let me answer some frequently asked questions that I get a lot about Meraki and our co-termination model. Question number 1, can support help with relicense related questions? Absolutely. If you have a question that revolves around, let's say, upgrading or downgrading or MX product edition or MR product edition, if we have questions or need to generate license keys and undo license claims, etc., these are all things that support can help out. The second question I get a lot is what happens when our dashboard becomes out of compliance? When a dashboard becomes out of compliance in Meraki, we enter what's called a grace period. A grace period essentially is a period that we have to fix the Meraki dashboard. Do I have to buy a new license for every device I add to the Meraki dashboard? Not necessarily in our case. If you're adding to your network infrastructure, it's going to make sense, of course, to buy licenses with that. However, let's say that you have older access points that you are taking out of your network and decommissioning. Well, the newer access points will work with those same exact licenses. Keep in mind that we also have product-specific licenses. So, for instance, the MG41 is a product-specific licenses, and our MXs and switches, so MSs, are also product-specific. In those cases, it would need to be the same model. And if you have any questions regarding this, you could, of course, reach out to your account team, who will help you make recommendations based on what licenses you would want and need to purchase to add more devices to your dashboard. Can you move licenses between organizations? Absolutely. If you look at your license history and you're an admin on your network, you have the ability to move or click a link to move licenses between organizations. Now, in order to move licenses between organizations, one, that license needs to still have life or time left on the dashboard. If that license has fully expired, you cannot move that license on your dashboard. The second part of this is from the Meraki side, you would also need to be a full administrator of both organizations you're moving licenses to and from. Can you undo a license claim? Absolutely. In Meraki, we can undo a license claim manually by ourselves within a week of entering a license. However, if you need to undo a license claim that's longer than a week, you could, of course, call into Meraki support, and Meraki support will help you undo that license claim. I hope that this overview of Meraki Co-Termination has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Feel free to give me a like and a follow. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.